Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Birds Postgame Live. Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan with that man right over there. He's Eagles Hall of Fame offensive tackle, Trey Thomas. And Trey must be a proud moment for a former Eagle because this Eagles team has accomplished something no other Eagles team has ever accomplished. And they are now 8-0. First Eagles team to do so. Hey, look, they go down to Houston, short turnaround. It wasn't pretty. We'll go through everything. There were a few things that they got to get cleaned up. But first, I got to just sort of take umbrage with Kirk Herbstreit saying the Eagles escaped with the victory when they won by 12 points. And they never, I don't think, maybe they trailed once after that opening drive. But it's not like, to me, this game was ever in doubt. Did you ever feel that this game was in doubt, Trey?
No, I didn't. I didn't think this game was in doubt. I mean, we just went to war with the best 1-6-1 team ever. This was at one point you felt like, man, we kind of in a dogfight right now,
Certainly.
This felt like the game that they would have played coming out of the bye week. And then with a short week, it just felt like the energy was off. It wasn't a high, everybody jumping around, super dialed in. You could tell like this was a quick turnaround game, and these guys are ready to get a couple more days off.
Yeah, Adam, we talked about it, and you made a good point earlier. It's when you're a road 14-point favorite, that's pretty tough. I mean, there's very rarely do you see a road 14-point favorite covered, and the Eagles they only win by 12. But for the most part, despite a few things that you'd like to see better, they didn't do too many uncharacteristically bad things. They threw the ball well. They ran the ball well. They got takeaways again. I mean, this is I would think it's a satisfying victory, even though
the cleanup. The tackles had some gaffes. Mailata gave some pressure shot. Jerry Hughes tormented them all night. The ageless one at 34 years old.
Yeah, him and BG.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he did a good. He beat both tackles, but Mailata gave us some pressures tonight. They ran the ball well, but they didn't run as well as we probably thought for whatever reason. But it was still pretty solid there. Yeah, overall, the protection, though, when I'll say this, when Hurts was protected, it seemed like he had an hour to throw the football. It was kind of funny. It's either they really blocked well for him, where he did whatever he needed to do, survey, or they gave some pressures where he had to move. And there were a couple times he didn't recognize where the defensive back. They had a safety cat blitz, I think, where the safety creeped and got a pressure on him. But overall, look, you scored 29 points on the road on a short week, by the way.
Right.
Not easy to do, and they'll take that. And they also converted that 2-point conversion, making 29 points.
Yeah, and then the bottom line to me, not only are you still 8-0, but in the manner of four days here, 2 games, and you've won by a combined score of 64-30. That's pretty good. I think the Eagles are going to go and take this extra rest, be happy with what they got. And then Trey, you get a little extra. I think it's always a benefit when your next game is a division game that you get a little extra rest for that. And obviously they have to go to Washington next.
Yeah, absolutely. You need that, to just kind of get yourself back, recharge, get ready to go. But one of the things that was giving me a couple of issues is just that, Jordan Mailata giving up 2 sacks, Lane giving up a sack, and then the first sack came because, you snapped the ball at the wrong time. And, you're going to have, how many more road games that you're going to have to go silent count in? So that's something that definitely needs to be cleaned up because that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, and there were a couple of snaps that looked like they caught Jalen Hurts by surprise. He completed a pass on one of them, but I think they showed on the replay that if everything had been in good sync, he might have had a touchdown along the right side to Jack Stoll. But, yeah, obviously things that you would have to clean up. In general, this team, though, as we said, 8-0, first-time team history, a lot of good things, and some things we'll talk about. We'll go through the offense, we'll go through the defense, and then just take a quick look ahead before we get out of here. No major injuries, I think, right? There was nobody that left this game and didn't come back. I know Fletcher Cox left, came back, but Adam, nobody else left and didn't come back, correct?
Don't think so. Yeah, Cox, it didn't look good. It looked like he got hurt on his ankle. You got bent back.
Right.
You saw, boy, they ran on that one series. Pierce, who had a huge game, we'll get to the run defense later.
Yeah.
But they ran down their throat when Cox left the lineup, and you're not having Jordan Davis as a factor. And I thought Greg Cosell on our pregame show did a great job of breaking Jordan Davis down. A lot of it's not positive as youth. I know a lot of people think he's played great. He really hasn't.
Right.
He's had 2 or 3, great plays per game. You go, wow. And then the rest, he gets stood up. And, but he's a big body. You take his 350-pound body out of the lineup now, who's on injured reserve and might be out more than 4 weeks. Clearly, that was a pretty bad injury. Yeah. He's got that high ankle, whatever else is wrong with it. And they're not as big in the middle. Let's call it like it is.
Definitely. Yeah. We're going to get to that. I want to talk about this Eagles defense. They showcased a few different looks, I would say, that we can talk about whether the pluses and minuses of it. Real quick, just sort of an oddity that the Eagles go to 8-0 for the first time in team history, and they do it by defeating a team that has never beaten them in their team history. So I guess that just a natural flow there. All right. Of course, this is the time, below the belt grooming time. Our friends at Manscaped are here for you. They got any kind of trimmer you want, whether it's upstairs, downstairs, a little nose, a little ear. Manscaped products. You're coming up on the holidays. You need gifts for the guys in your family. Manscaped. Manscaped.com and use the promo code ITB. Get yourself 20% off. That's 20% off using promo code ITB at Manscaped. All right, so let's talk about this run defense that the Eagles showed. First of all, you're right, Adam. They didn't have Jordan Davis, and we talked about this on the pregame show. And already in the first quarter, people are like, "Oh my God, they missed Jordan Davis so much," and that's really not the case. I mean, for everything that you were outlining, he doesn't play that many snaps to begin with, and I'm not saying that he wouldn't have helped. That what I saw was just a lot of bad tackling, especially in the secondary. I mean, the defensive line had their issues as well. We'll talk about their fronts, but I thought really the opportunity to bring down Dameon Pierce after he would get a yard or two is really where it got hurt, where they were getting hurt.
Yeah, they got killed on gap integrity, man. Between the missed tackles, which there were many, and he causes a lot, by the way.
He does,
because of that herky jerky way that he runs with the football in the stop and start. Man, that is hard to deal with when you don't really see a guy like this every day. And then their gap control. There were some runs where I don't think he was touched for 6 or 7 yards. That can't even an arm on him. So that can happen. And look, I think with Jordan Davis out of lineup, we could say that he hasn't been as good as people think. But the factor is he's a big guy, and you saw when Cox went out of lineup, man, when he hurt his ankle.
Right.
They just when Marvin Wilson and Milton Williams are in there, they gashed him really badly.
Yeah, Marvin Williams was elevated from the practice squad, and obviously playing for the first time this year. Not great results there. Milton Williams, I thought Javon Hargrave as a run defender also gets swallowed up by the double teams a little bit too much. And then Marlon Tuipulotu, who's supposed to be a good run defender, was swallowed up at times. So Trey, did you see this as a failure in scheme and alignment, or just not the players themselves not doing what they're supposed to do correctly?
I'm thinking it was more on the players themselves not doing the things correctly, because, I mean, you go back and you look at just even last week's game against Pittsburgh, gap integrity was extremely big for them. You had guys not trying to overdo anything. They just came in, took care of the A, B gap, C gap. Safety comes down, fills the hole, and then there you go. You have a stuffed run. But I felt that there are times that players just got out of position. They weren't where they were supposed to be. And then no one wanted to tackle Pierce once he got up there to the second level. I mean, he ran through Slay one time. I mean, he ran through else. I mean, it was not pretty once he got to the second level. Nobody wanted to deal with it.
Yeah, there was that early big run where not just Slay, but I think Epps and C.J. Gardner-Johnson were just like, it was like bowling pins. They were just getting scattered all about there.
It was like watching another Travis Henry. Yeah, come on. Tackle the man.
Travis Henry.
Yes, I believe you mean Derrick Henry, right?
Derrick Henry, I was
going to say Travis Henry, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Philip Dorsett was like watching Travis Henry, though. Yeah. That was a really nice catch that he made on the first one. But look, I mean, I think we knew this is all Houston could do. Right. And I saw a lot of folks complaining on Twitter, oh, Jonathan Gannon's not adjusting. Oh, Jonathan Gannon's doing a terrible job. But when all is said and done, Houston racked up all these rushing yards, but they got 17 points out of it. And I think that the bigger stat that reflects what the Eagles did today was that on third down, Houston was 2 of 9, 22%. And that's sort of this team's philosophy. Sure, move the ball on us all you want on the ground, but when you have to pass the ball, which you eventually will, we will come after you, not even from a blitz standpoint. I'm just saying we're going to get your quarterback, and you saw that that's what they did. So I really don't have a beef per se with Jonathan Gannon from this game.
They didn't really blitz much, if at all.
Barely.
Yeah, they Greg Cosell and I didn't agree with this. I thought they played coverage. That's what they did. Because now it's funny, but they had coverage busts.
They did.
Philip Dorsett got by them a couple times badly. Chris Moore is generally a special teams player, one of the better ones on coverage. He's a guy that can run for his size, but he hasn't been really much of a receiver in the NFL. And he had a start tonight, and he got them. He got the touchdown. They also had another play called back. O.J. Howard had a nice catch, a 14-yarder.
Yeah.
But as you said, when you're a running team and you run all the time, you're playing not to lose. And that in the end did them in. And how about C.J. Gardner-Johnson? He picked in 4 straight games and 5 interceptions overall.
He continues to be the thing about this defense, Trey, which is funny to me, is that the guys who can be leaky at times and run like Javon Hargrave getting pushed back and giving up, gap integrity, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson not being a great tackler, and I think sometimes they funneled their run toward him, is that whatever they give up, they bring it right back with either sacks or takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, especially Hargrave coming out there and having 2 sacks. I mean, that's 3. That's a massive game. Oh, he had 3 guys. 3 tonight.
3. Yeah.
3 sacks tonight. I mean, that's just out of this. For a defensive tackle, that's huge.
Yeah, and again, Davis Mills wasn't terrible. He's working with no starting wide receivers. He only throws for 154 yards and completes less than 60%. So if you take 150, that one great play that Dorsett made, it was a 34-yard catch. He did beat Bradbury on it. You tip your hat to him.
You get a
great catch. Yeah. But that's about 20% of their passing offense. So when people want to complain about how much run yardage they gave up, but it did not hurt them. And they were all right to do that as long as they were going to be stout and make plays on third down, which they did. So, by the way, I do think, as you guys know, an adjustment in the second half he did make was I thought he started having the linebackers shooting the gaps a little bit against the run so that they would get there without having the tackles getting pushed back into them.
Absolutely, because you know which gaps you need to get to. I mean, it's all combination blocks, Right. You know which combination block is going, where we're trying to work to. Everybody points to you, all call it all out. The defensive line and linebackers kind of get a good feel for how that plays. Now, one of the things that when you do run the ball like that, then you have the play action. And again, play action has been a problem for us to stop. But then, because there was one time they ran a play action and BG didn't even react to the quarterback. He just took off running straight down the line of scrimmage. And here's the quarterback leaking out right behind him and throwing the pass downfield, so. But then the extra wrinkle is they blitzed Hassan Reddick one time on it, and then he was right there in his face. So finally, we put a stop to a play action, just a rollout. So that's something that we're going to have to continue to work on because teams are going to continue to use that to work against us.
By the way, how about that pass breakup by Reddick on was it Atkins?
Jordan Akins. Yeah, would have been a touchdown. Yeah.
For all the criticism he got for being in coverage at him, that was a heck of a play.
That was a touchdown saver. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, look, we told people at the beginning when we started the season, Reddick will not be a pass rusher every play. No linebacker is just rushing passer every play. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
Even in college football it does, but it doesn't work here. And there are going to be some plays. Although I you and I were laughing when he said Reddick was great in coverage. It's not really what happened in Carolina, but okay. But boy, that was a great play. I'll tell you what. And by the way, Gannon would be right though going forward. At least here, he's not embarrassed himself. They've got him some, and he's got them some. So he has not been a bad player in coverage, and we know how good of a solid pass rusher he's been.
Yes, he's atoned from that. What was it, week 2 or week 3? Johnny Bunt beat him on a little.
Oh, Johnny Munt, yeah,
Johnny Munt. That's right.
Bunt cake. I call it.
Yeah. Last thing on the defense before we move on, Trey. Obviously, without Jordan Davis, they do kind of have to figure out what they want to be from an identity standpoint on first and second down. They came out, I think, with 4 down linemen and an overhang. Then they went at some points to 5-1 looks. Like, what do you see as the future of this D-line? Because Jordan Davis is going to be out at least 4 weeks and possibly longer.
It's still going to be some version of a 5 down front. Because to me, even with a 4 down and overhang, that's a 5 down front.
That's 5 down,
and
right?
You're just putting a middle linebacker in the middle. So, and then the safety comes down. So that's all still the same to me. If it's an overhang or whatever. So to me, I can still consider it a 5 because your rules, the same rules still apply when it comes to how to block it up.
Sure. But I don't think they used a nose in this when you do 4 and an overhang, they didn't have somebody over the center. Like
you just don't have the nose. Yeah. So then you put Hargrave at the 1. You're going to have to alternate who you're going to put at the 1. To me, Hargrave is a better fit there, just because of how forceful he is when he takes on, when he makes a decision, I'm going to beat you and don't worry about the combination block. I think that's one of the ways that he excels over Fletcher Cox a little bit. I think Fletcher Cox is more of a good guy to put out there over the tackle or the guard.
Yeah,
because then he can get back to his old two-gapping ways. But, I think Hargrave is the guy that you need to put down in there.
Yeah, I think what we learned is they need to be 5-man in some variety against the run, because if once you get the opportunity to double team him in the middle, you're able to drive these guys back, and it's not pretty. So, I mean, and they're going to probably continue to be leaky at times, but Adam, as long as they're scoring points and taking the lead, that's the key for them.
Yeah, they just scored. It's funny, all the consternation on social media. It's kind of funny. I kind of skim it like you do just to see what people are saying.
Yeah,
they were so mad at Gannon and the defense. It was like they were waiting. They were like sharks.
I can feel the steam coming out of my phone, man.
I get it.
I thought the team was 0-8.
You want your team to be perfect. I understand. No team is perfect.
I get it.
They're on a short week, but they got the job done. But I'll say this about Hargrave, and Kirk Herbstreit said it. He was relentless as a pass rusher. He was. Yeah, it's kind of because it fairly some of our listeners. I think it's a great point. Okay, is this a contract drive, or is he really this playing at this level because is he healthy now? Because Herbstreit talked about it. He did say something, by the way. He didn't really clarify it. He's saying like Sirianni basically said he was only been healthy last like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, we have to. I was shocked to hear that, and
I did pick that up. We talked
about how he missed all of camp with the turf toe.
Yeah,
and technically you don't get to see all of practice, right? For media, and not that we're there, but those who are there only get to see the warming and the stretching up. Maybe he really had, but then how would you get away with not having him on the injury report? Because I don't think he's been on the injury report a whole lot. So I don't know.
What he said is, what's weird, he hasn't been, but he's practicing. And he said he really hasn't practiced in only up to the last 3 or 4 weeks. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because you just said he has not been on the injury report. So right. I don't know.
That was sketchy. That was sketchy. Yeah. Something we'll have to look into. All right, let's talk about the Eagles offense first. Before we do that, we're going to take a quick break and hear from our friends at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook.
Game night for me is every night. At the place where I meet up with the guys, grab a cold one, and watch the big game on the big screen. So whether it's the money line, the pass line, or a parlay, I'm in it to win. This is my city, and this is my place.
All right, welcome back. Thanks to our friends at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook out there in Delaware Ave in Philly, where Philly loves a winner, host of our pregame show. Speaking of our pregame show, we talked about this Houston Texans defense, the cover 2 that they play, although they did play other defenses as well. But the choice, Adam, we discussed was, well, do you run this much against the cover 2 because it's inviting and this is a bad running team? Or do you do what you do? And the Eagles have been coming out passing in the first half of most of the games lately. And they did. They came out and they threw the ball. And, a guy that they really found a lot of, found open a lot was Dallas Goedert. He wound up being the main target with 100 yards today.
Whoever the whole player was in the cover 2 was seemingly lost.
Yeah,
they lost Goedert, and the good thing is on the Goedert throws, Hurts for the most part got really good protection, and he saw it and he hit it. See, the difference between Hurts this year and last year, Hurts was just inconsistent, indecisive, and this year he's so decisive. Rarely does he not know where he's going. That is so important for a young quarterback.
Yeah, there are a couple of throws he made. He threw a couple of corner route throws where, even from the camera angle, I kept thinking, man, I don't know how he saw over his right tackle there, but it's when you know where you're throwing the ball and where the ball has to be, Trey. I mean, that's like 50% of the game right there before you even throw the ball.
You're throwing at spots. You're throwing at spots on the field, and you know where that receiver is supposed to be, his depth, and they ran that route so much that he knows where exactly I need to put that ball on the field, and then there you go. And like you say, Jalen is just out there. He's just playing the game, man. And I think that the game is really slowed down for him. And he understands where he's going with the ball. He's reading the defense, getting a good read for him. And I think that the offense has done a really good job. The coaches have done a good job of just working towards his strengths.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this is 2 weeks in a row. I like to ask Jason Avant and Trey Thomas this. 2 weeks in a row, Slim Reaper kind of disappearing into the offense. Kind of just there. He's putting up Quez Watkins numbers now, where he gets, 1 or 2 targets. Is that going to be something that this team is looking at going forward, saying that no matter, even when we're winning, we still have got to figure out a way to get Slim some catches, or else it's going to get a little ugly in here?
Oh, yeah, I think so. You got to get him the ball. You're going to have to get him the ball. Receivers, man, they are funny acting guys. So,
yeah, they are.
Yeah. I can say that because Jason's not here, but you know what I'm saying? I think that these guys, I think that this locker room is so different. I don't know if you would have the Slim one out there just acting up because he's not getting enough targets. I think as long as this team continues to win and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, I don't think you'll have that problem within this locker room.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
But I do think that the coaches will be like, all right, you know what? You're going to get a lot of targets next game. We're going to force the ball to you.
The Washington game was the one where they were relentless with and shot plays. They didn't really get you could call Goedert maybe a couple shot plays, but there weren't anything really deep. Well past 20 yards. And maybe what it was is they got the seam. They got a bunch of seam passes. They had Brown drop. Did he drop one tonight? Because he dropped a couple last week.
Yeah, I don't think he dropped any today that I can recall.
Okay, there were 2 incompletions to him. I just cannot remember what the situation was. But they were still efficient on offense. It wasn't – look, they put up 29 points, of course, a 2-point conversion. But I felt like they'll probably look back and say, we left some plays on the board here. There were some plays that could have been made. But overall, look, they scored 29 points in a game where they – look, I think we all who watched it felt like this was not their most well-played game. And they'll learn from this because it's good that they actually were pushed a little bit. Like I know we said at the start of this game, it was never in doubt. Yeah, it wasn't in doubt. It wasn't like in the fourth quarter it was tied with 5 minutes left, but they were pushed for at least a half or into deep into third quarter.
Yeah, they were.
One of the things I like about this offense, though, real quick, is that all right, hey, you take away Brown, you take away Smith. All right, well then Dallas Goedert is going to have a big game. Right. And then now, you have to pick your poison with this offense. So if you try to focus on Dallas, then all right, Brown and then Slim going to get a big game. So this offense is pretty strong right now.
It's very multidimensional. I think we've seen defenses even try to do things differently. Like for example, even tonight, the Houston Texans probably I don't know their stats, but we just know that they're not a blitz heavy team. That's not something Lovie Smith did, but they definitely threw some 5-man pressures at the Eagles. I mean, Steven Nelson himself was in there blitzing and got himself a strip sack. So I'm sure when we go back and look and tabulate, we'll see that the Texans are trying to do something a little different. And then Trey, when you start to see teams do come out of character, right? Try to come up with something to stop the train, you get a little bit of, you may not have seen it coming, might be unscouted, but you already have a team kind of getting out of its comfort zone to do something. That's a little bit of a win right there before the game starts. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, desperation, so, and that tells you that as a team that you're on the right track. But, again, there are things that you're going to have to go back and correct because, that blitz that came off the left side, that was a sack. All right. The one that came up the middle, that was the delayed blitz. So as an offensive line, okay, how are we going to handle that? Are you just going to have to throw high? Is the running back going to have to stay in there a little longer? How are we going to handle that? Because this is a copycat league. Everybody's going to start doing it.
Yeah, definitely. How about the Miles Sanders stiff arm on Derek Stingley on that nice 25? You see it. Keep through it.
Amazing.
Get out of my way.
Yeah, I didn't even know he had that in him.
He's got. I think he's ran tough this year, man. He's ran real tough. This year.
I never saw Miles as a big stiff arm guy though.
Yeah,
to just put somebody down like that. That was nice. I enjoyed watching that.
I've heard, and you can attest to it. I wouldn't know, but I've heard that when you're in a contract year, that maybe you start doing things differently.
Oh yeah, you get superhuman powers.
That's right. You just become superhuman.
Absolutely. You jog to work every day. You're good. It's all good.
Adam, how do the Miles Sanders thing is going to be pretty interesting as we get closer to the end of the season. He's having a really good year, 93 yards, 17 carries, 5.5 contract year. And honestly, they're getting all right contribution from Gainwell and Scott, but I don't know if next year you feel like, all right, those are my guys if Miles walks,
Yeah, I know they wouldn't. No, Gainwell will not be the starter. But I this idea, people are like acting like the Eagles have no interest in bringing Sanders back. I don't know where that's coming from. Now, would they have all the leverage? Yes. He's a running back. The Eagles will walk away from any running back.
Mm-hmm.
That's one position they have no problem walking away from. But look, they drafted him. This is their own guy, a high character guy. He stayed healthy this year. Mm-hmm. He's playing well, as you said. This is a consistent year for him. He's not trying to break everything big.
Right.
He's getting those dirty yards and tough yards, as Trey said. Doing a good job. No, I mean, we'll see. I know they have a lot of free agents, but I would not write him off coming back. I don't know why people keep saying that he's not coming back. That's never been their intention. It's just that they control the situation. He has less control over it. And it's kind of one of these things they could give it, take it or leave it off. Or like with Jordan Hicks, people don't know this, but they actually wanted to bring him back, the year that he got the big deal from Arizona, but they blew him out of the water. They gave him $10 million a year or something. They're like, we're not going there. So they didn't even make him an offer. As soon as they found out what Arizona was doing,
mm-hmm.
It wasn't like they didn't want him back. It's just with this situation, the Eagles don't typically put a ton of resources in the running back position.
Right.
But again, I would not write this off.
No, can't write it off. I mean, I think we've talked on the podcast throughout the year that, if he has a big year and his price tag gets really high, then it becomes sort of a, what do you do in that situation? Of course, they'll probably make him an offer, but I mean, does he doesn't have to accept it.
Right.
So,
well, here's the other thing is you'd rather bring him back at a reasonable number, and because they have so many guys they have to make a decision on.
Right.
You'd like that to be at a number that you can handle so it doesn't crush your cap. And it's running back shouldn't anyway. And the running back numbers have been relatively flat. I mean, McCaffrey got the best deal in NFL history. No one's going to get that deal probably for a while, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. He's one of, a bunch of free agents. And by the way, Monday morning, we're going to drop our contract show. You've been asking for it, and we're going to take care of that for you.
Yes, can't wait to do that. All right, putting a bow on offense. Again, the Eagles ran 31 times and they passed 27 times. And they were fairly balanced throughout the night. They had 24 runs by the end of the third quarter. So, I think people wanted to see them run a little bit more, especially when Jalen was getting sacked. But I mean, you're not going to run 40% of the time. I'm sorry, you're not going to run 60% of the time and pass 40% of the time. That's not the way things work. That's what the Texans did. They lost by 12.
Not in this NFL. That's not happening.
Yeah. So I think that's you're 143 rushing yards, 4.6 yards per carry. I think the Eagles did exactly what they had to do.
Yeah, I would add that they actually in the first half only threw it 2 more times than they ran it. So it was pretty balanced in the first half. They ran up a lot of plays in the first half, and it looked like it was like one of the things like I felt like they should have had more points.
Mm-hmm.
Look, they supposed had to punt a little bit tonight. He's okay. That's another thing. At least special teams didn't hurt them tonight.
Correct.
That was so noticeable. You go, gosh, here we go again. We didn't have to say that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those performances where they were efficient in offense, ran the ball well, like we knew they would. But it wasn't a huge monster running game, which I think some of us were expecting because, quite frankly, everybody runs on Houston. And that's why their offense is so bad because they typically don't have it very much. In fact, the Eagles actually got beaten time of possession, which is shocking.
That is surprising. Not often does that happen to them. All right, we're going to hear from our friends at Sky Motor Cars, then come back to wrap this up.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
All right, big thanks to Sky Motor Cars. If you hop out there to Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. You will get a great deal. If you can't make it in, go to SkyMotorCars.com. I just realized this looking at the schedule. I knew they had Washington Monday night in their next game, Trey, but that's going to be their third primetime game out of their last 4 games. There was Dallas 3 weeks ago, and then, before the bye, and then Houston, and then Washington coming up, and then 2 weeks after is Green Bay primetime. Obviously, this is a good team to have on primetime right now. But do you when you play the Washington, and it's another night game, do you think Nick Sirianni will change anything about the practice schedule as far as like how much time do you think he's going to give these guys off?
I'm pretty sure they'll be, because I mean, you're going to get Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So they'll probably come in Monday. You'll probably get Tuesday again, and then you get back to your regular schedule Wednesday, Thursday.
Right, because normally for a Monday night game, you don't come back to the facility for your Wednesday because it's like your Thursday, right?
Exactly.
But then that would be a long time between tomorrow and Thursday. So that's why I'm wondering if there might be a little bit of an adjustment just to get the guys in the facility and running around a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You probably get them back in on Monday. You're going to give them the weekend off.
Right.
You're not going to have them come in. You can't work on the weekend after a Thursday night game, but but I think that you have them come in on Monday to kind of get the juices back flowing again. And you might get, have something on Tuesday for them, maybe, but then you get back to your regular work schedule Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you're off from there.
There you go. Okay. Carson Wentz, Adam, will not play in that game, correct? He is still going to be on IR.
Yeah, yes. We're coming from Stein. But Jahan Dotson, who's unlikely to play this week, though Scott Turner said he's getting closer. Who just got off to such a great start, the rookie from Penn State, their first rounder. They've run through, by the way, their defense is the reason why they're winning, not their offense. Their defense is playing great. Right. By the way, it's funny. You can't say they're playing the Fangio defense, but lately they've done 2 things. They're playing the zone handoff, which the Eagles do, and they're going with 5-man fronts. Jack Del Rio was talking about it because the reporters are like, what's going on here? Why are you changing? He says, hey, we're doing a couple different things here, and that is kind of the thing now. The NFL, these 5-man fronts. Not every team does it, but a lot more doing it than they were before. What
is the status of Chase Young relative to that game coming up Monday night?
Very possible. What Ron Rivera kind of downplayed him playing this week, but he's getting close. Yeah, he might be able to play in that game. So they're getting healthier, and they know Heineke very, very well.
Yes, they do. All right, that's pretty interesting stuff. Long break for the Eagles now means a little bit of a break for us, but we will be back Monday night for the Inside the Birds pregame show and the Inside the Birds postgame show. For Adam Caplan and Trey Thomas, I'm Geoff Mosher. Thanks, everybody, for watching Inside the Birds postgame live.